Goat leather is a very strong, durable, flexible material that can last for years with proper care and maintenance. It's often used in personal accessories and smaller leather goods, primarily due to the smaller size of the hide and also its density and durability. It has a long history and is associated with ancient civilizations such as the Egyptians, the Greeks, and the Romans. As one of the earliest domesticated animals, goats were likely used for their hides, particularly in regions where goats were raised for milk and meat and other resources. The hides would be tanned and used for leather goods, including clothing, footwear, accessories. And due to its durability and flexibility, goat leather continued to be favored material throughout the Middle Ages and then was commonly used a lot for making gloves and shoes. Throughout the Renaissance and afterwards, goat leather remained a top choice for luxury items. And then as we're getting further into the mechanized age and the Industrial Revolution, advancements in machinery and technology, and even further refined tanning processes made goat leather even more popular and versatile to use. In modern day, it's used primarily and very often in the fashion and leather goods industries for clothing, personal accessories, and applications where a quality material is really valued, especially for its softness, durability, and adaptability to receive various finishes. So let's look at this up close. So here is a zoomed in view of the top of goat leather. And you could see, even this close, it has a really smooth texture to it. We could definitely see some of that grain pattern up here and how there's some kind of creasing in there slightly. But overall, you don't really see a lot of marks from any kind of hair or any remnants from the tanning process. It's a relatively dense, durable, and really smooth leather. Looking at the bottom, we see a more open grain pattern here. But even in this, compared to something like a cowhide or a bovine leather, the fibers here are relatively, small and tight and smooth. And where typically this could be a much more open, wide pattern, even on this back end, which is usually fuzzy, here it's still a more dense fuzziness, if you will, than in other leather materials. And here's a cool view, the section view. This will kind of show us what's really going on the inside. And here we see a top layer that's going to be that dense, smooth one that we saw earlier, especially in this full grain example. And then as we get into the middle of the fibers, they open up a bit. However, it doesn't open up as much as, other natural fibers like a bovine leather. This is still going to be pretty, dense throughout, which will relate to its characteristics of its durability as well. And then as we get more towards the bottom, the grain pattern opens up a little bit, and we could see a little more of, what we saw earlier on that bottom piece of those more open grains. But overall, it's a very durable, relatively smooth, and high quality type of leather. When considering the production process, usually one of two is going to be used, and that's either going to be our chrome tanning process or the vegetable tanning process. And the chrome tanning process is a chemical-based one that involves soaking the leather in, chromium salts. And this usually yields a much softer, more flexible leather material, which is a great thing for this type of leather since it already starts out a little more, durable, supple, and soft. So it's kind of using a chrome tanning process on goat leather can essentially accentuate, the natural qualities of that hide. If we're looking at vegetable tanning, this is going to be, again, a more traditional process that uses natural tannins to tan the hide. And it often yields a more rigid type leather material. Whereas the chrome tan makes a very soft one, the vegetable tanning makes a little bit of a firmer leather. In that process, the firm leather can then take things such as tooling and carving and impressions on the surface much better. So depending on what you're looking for, it'll determine what type of tanning process you want to have done to the leather that you're using. Chrome tan for a softer, more flexible one, vegetable tanning, for a more firm, natural look and feel. For the cost of goat leather, we see around $4 to $12 per square foot. And you could certainly get it more expensive or less expensive. The key factors here are going to be the quality of the hide, the quality of the tanning process, and then if or what any types of finishing characteristics have been done. For example, if there are any kind of surface protectant coatings, water resistance, UV protectant, scratch resistance, and if there's any kind of oils or waxes infused into that material as well. So it'll vary, but generally around $4 to $12 per square foot. Looking at the pros of goat leather, it is very durable. That's a great thing, especially if you're going to put it into a fine leather good. You want it to retain that look and feel for a long period of time. It's also very flexible, which is great because some leathers are stiff, but given its flexibility, they can be used very comfortably in many leather goods and preferably, for higher end luxury goods. It's also relatively lightweight, where some leathers have a lot of density to them. You could find goat leathers that are relatively thinner, and that lightweight can create applications for it that are definitely preferable, such as linings or even finished leather goods that are just using a lighter weight leather that is still very durable and effective. Some cons are that the hides are generally smaller, so it may limit you to creating smaller leather goods based on what it is you're trying to make. And usually it's going to be a little more susceptible to water damage than some other natural hides. And so just something to keep in mind that if you're going to be using it for an application where it may be exposed to the environment, just consider how it's integrated into that design so that it still remains, a good choice for that, and a usable, good-looking finished piece. Some great uses for it include, things like jackets, shoes, gloves, boots, bags, wallets, notebook and journal covers, clothing, things like that. But keep in mind, it would have to be smaller pieces of clothing or combined with other leather elements into larger pieces, just given the natural size of those hides. But in general, it's a great item for any kind of accessories or items like that where you're looking for a soft, durable leather. A few tips for working with goat leather include making sure that, again, your tools are sharp, because with goat leather, it's going to be a little more of a supple material. And so if you've got, blades with burrs on them or, duller tools, it may stretch the leather in ways that you don't want in your finished piece. Additionally, if you are stitching goat leather, keep in mind, how that stitching is going to pull on the material. For example, with a harder leather such as a vegetable tan, it's going to be stronger than your thread in most cases. Whereas a softer leather like a goat leather, the thread may actually pull and kind of curve and bunch up that leather at those stitch lines. So just plan that out and keep in mind that way when you're finished, you have a very clean, professional looking piece. So there you have it, a look at goat leather, a relatively durable, preferable leather used for accessories and high-end leather goods. If it's something you're looking to explore, just plan out your project and it will likely lead you to excellent results.